Hey there, Boden. Welcome to the Hidden Why podcast. Great to have you here.
Yeah, excited to be here.
So you're 19 years old
That's right.
and written a book.
Yeah.
Have you always been into writing, or is it just something you had to do?
No, it's funny because probably if you'd asked me 3 years ago, I hated reading and I hated writing. But then it was like I got to a point where I really started to like it, and this was something that I felt I needed to do. So,
Yeah. Yeah, look, the book for the audience listening is called Perseverance: Surviving the Life-Altering Dangers of Titanium Implants, which is kind of unique in itself.
yes,
And
sir.
it's a journey of your mother, right? And what she's
Yes.
gone through in this situation. So we're going to delve into the book for sure, and hopefully share some stories that help inspire and influence the others. But is it put you on the journey of health and fitness awareness, or you and your mother? Like, how does that work?
Yeah, absolutely. I think for me, it's definitely opened my eyes to a lot of things, but I've definitely became a very big health advocate just in all aspects.
Yeah, because you're a pro wrestler, right?
I am, yeah, I wrestle Division 1 for North Dakota State.
Right. How long
Yes,
you been
sir.
doing that for?
This will be my second year in college, but
Okay.
I've been wrestling since I was like 4 years old.
Oh, okay. There you go.
Yep.
So tough gig. I wouldn't want to get in the ring with you, that's for sure. I don't think my
Yeah.
skills are aligned. So you go to university, college,
Yes, sir.
yeah, and you're doing so how does that work? Is that a scholarship with wrestling or
Yep, that's
yep.
right.
Okay. Tell us about your routine. I'm just curious as a athlete, what does your
Yeah,
what are your I guess life hacks look like as around the wrestling ring?
Yeah, so pretty much the schedule right now is I wake up at about 6, we lift weights at 7, and then I'll usually go to class between 9 and noon, come back, grab something to eat. Then we have practice from 2:30 to 4:30, get back, grab something to eat, and then do some homework and chill out from there. And then I'll usually go to bed at about 9 p.m.
Okay. Yeah. Fairly
Yeah,
fairly solid routine and good
yes,
sleep
sir.
amount as well, which is always a healthy thing.
Yeah, gotta have it. Gotta
It's
have it.
it's changing a lot that idea, isn't it? Because I remember when I first started this podcast, a lot of the conversations that I was having were around this idea of grinding and working hard and sleeping less and making the most of every single hour.
Yeah.
Which now seems the message anyway seems to have flipped, where it's now no, take time to have rest and balance, you know.
Yeah, I've definitely played around with trying to sleep less, but I've found that if I get any less than 7 to 8 hours of sleep, my productivity for the rest of the day just goes so far down. It's not worth it.
Really good point. Yeah.
Yeah.
100% agree. And I'm running on a low amount of sleep today, but that's kind of typical for a Friday, it seems, because I get
Yeah.
up early and I start the podcast or coaching, whatever it might be. Um, but yes, rest is important. So let's talk about this story. So your book, you wrote this book out of the what desire to share your mum's story. What really prompted you to put pen to paper?
Yeah. So this is an event that's happened for it's about 7 years total. So
Yeah.
my mom's story started when I was about 12 years old. And Um, once I got to about 17 years old, I got this idea and I was like, this story needs to be shared because I feel that something that can affect somebody so negatively needs to be put out there. And it's from a simple procedure that thousands of people get done per day. So I just wanted to really get it out there, make it available, and then if there's anybody that's struggling with this kind of thing, I want to be able to relate to somebody and help them out, hopefully.
Yeah. So tell us the story. What actually happened here?
Yeah, so basically when I was 12 years old, so it would have been 2016, my mom got a titanium implant in her mouth, in her tooth, a screw to help with, she'd been having problems with a tooth, and then a dentist messed up a procedure. So then she had to get a screw instead of just a basic cap, which is what she was going to get. And then basically a few months after she got her implant, she started having really severe symptoms of weakness, brain fog, just all kinds of terrible things going on in her body. And what's crazy about it is my mom was like the healthiest person in the world, running every day, lifting weights every day. And then it was just like, boom, everything got taken away. She could hardly move. There was a point in time when she couldn't even lift a spoon to her mouth.
Right. So what actually happened here?
Yeah. So what it is the titanium from the implant isn't the problem. Titanium implants are on average 6% aluminum and 4% vanadium. And the aluminum was the problem. The aluminum ions binded in her blood. And then all throughout her body, she was getting negative symptoms, still gets them. And yeah, that was the main where it came from.
Okay, so it sort of poisons the blood.
Exactly.
Right.
Poisoned her
And
whole body.
so you say like thousands of people get this every day, titanium implants, or whatever it might
Mm-hmm.
be. How common is this issue?
Yeah, I think it's something that the medical industry almost like sweeps under the rug. They
Yeah,
hardly even acknowledge that it's a problem, but there's definitely people out there who talk about it for sure.
yeah. So what can be done to reverse what's happened? I mean, is it a matter of pulling it out and getting blood work
Yeah,
done?
and that's kind of where we're at today even. So my mom still struggles with it today, and
Yeah,
she had it removed like 6 years ago. She had it removed shortly after she had it put in,
right.
and she still has all kinds of problems from it. And that's why I find it so ridiculous, because how can something like that take your life away so dramatically? It's absolutely ridiculous.
Yeah. What do you I suppose by sharing your mum's story, obviously creating awareness around this particular procedure, what is the message you're hoping to relate to the audience other than that?
Yeah, so a couple things. The main thing that it taught me is to be really close with your family and double down on people you're closest with. I found that when hard things happen, a lot of people fall out of your life, and you have to hold on to those people close to you, otherwise you're not going to make it.
Yeah,
That's my main message.
family is important, and it's interesting because at a young age of 19, if I reflect back to when I was 19, certainly my family's always been important, and it's one of my highest values. But you sort of don't think about those things. And I found I'm 43 now, and I feel now more than ever, I'm starting to really appreciate that, because you start to be confronted with health issues and death, and you start to realize how important family is and how much that time really matters. How does how does that feel in your age bracket of being 19 and having that family value compared to your sort of social groups?
Yeah, I think it gives me a huge leg up, and it's something that I really want to preach. I don't think it matters your age, and like you said, I think younger people maybe struggle to see that as much,
Yeah.
but from this experience, I've just seen that it's so important, because somebody like that could be really struggling, and you just being in their life can be all the difference.
Yeah, yeah, 100%. So family values, big message in the book. What else are we looking at? I love the title perseverance, and that's a really important word to me in my life. But what does that mean to you?
Yeah, so it really, what that comes back to is the struggle that my mom's been through. It taught me that for me in my life, there's nothing that I could go through that would be as bad as what she's gone through. So if she's still standing here today, there's nothing in life that could take away what I want to do
Do you share
every day.
messages from your mum, like of her journey with the perseverance and what she's had to go through?
Yeah, that's what that's the main thing the book is about. Pretty much everything that she went through, and yeah, just from start to finish. to
What have
now. I
you
shouldn't say finish, start to current.
still going? Yeah. Does she share any like I suppose practical advice as far as working through this trauma, I suppose.
Practical advice.
Yeah, like, to work through this, what has she done to be able to, I guess, because when you've got this severe trauma or health issue going on, it's hard to really think about the positives in life, right? It's hard to think
Mhm.
about anything else but your own problem, and you've got one big problem, and that's sort of what it comes down to. Has she or you shared any thoughts on how you can overcome that to still live life to the fullest despite the situation or circumstance you've been dealt?
Right. I'd say two things. First thing is keep having hope. That's what she says every day is if you believe that you're shot and you have no chance left, you probably don't. So it's really about keeping a positive outlook and then really just trying to stay positive with every day-to-day task. She's become so appreciative and it's taught me a lot. I mean, just appreciate the sun rising in the morning, small things like that.
Yeah, okay. So just gratitudes for the little things in life
Absolutely.
make a big difference in your positive mentality. Talk to us about your health and fitness, because I know you get on there and talk a lot about that in the social circles, etc. Is that something through your mum's journey that you've really got into, or is this something, because you said you've been doing wrestling for a while, has it always been a part of your life?
Yeah, so it's kind of always been a part, but I'd say recently, these past couple of years for sure, I've really doubled down on it. I've found that if you want to, I can live my life to the fullest ability when I'm giving my body everything that it needs. When I'm fueling it the right way, I'm sleeping the right way, getting exposure to sunlight, all these kinds of things. I feel phenomenal. Every day I wake up, I love what I do. And when I do these things, there's really nothing that gets me down. Even if something bad happens, I bounce right back because everything around me is great and I feel great.
Yeah, I like that. Um, cool. Let's talk about health and fitness from your perspective. What are the five key areas we should be looking at, or three key areas that you would, if I was coming to you and saying, hey, see you into your health and fitness, I want to really improve that area of my life, how would you help someone?
Yeah, I'd say the big three for me are diet is absolutely number one. That's where I find all the biggest positives and where you can also feel the worst. The main thing is avoiding ultra processed food. That's where I mean, it just kills you. All the seed oils, all the artificial sweeteners, everything like that, it destroys your body. So that's easily number one. And then number two is daily movement, even if it's just a little something. And I also tie in with that lifting weights 3 times a week to maintain your muscle. And then probably I'd say two days a week getting cardio and then 1 day a week doing something just that you enjoy, playing pickleball, etc., stuff like that.
Yeah.
And then number three, definitely getting sunlight. I've I've found that's where I feel best. And then if you can ground yourself, if you can take your take your shoes off and get your feet in the grass, essentially, that helps a lot.
A bit of nature,
Yeah, 100%.
a bit of nurture by nature. Just going back to diet for a second, is there a particular diet you subscribe to?
Yeah, so right now I'm I eat 95% meat and fruit. I've found that's what works best for me personally. So basically, red meat, eggs, salmon, stuff like that, and then fruit in forms of apples, bananas, kiwis, dates, those kinds of things.
What about
The
vegetables?
only the only thing other than those is I'll have sourdough bread.
Yeah, yeah, I make a good
Yeah.
sourdough myself. What
Yeah.
about what about vegetables?
I'm not a huge vegetable guy.
Yeah,
Personally, I played around with a lot of things, but for me, meat and fruit is where I feel best.
yeah, that's interesting.
Yeah.
Um, I 100% agree, and I think at 19, I certainly had no idea about diet. Um, I always ate fairly well, but probably overate as well and ate the wrong things. But look, I've dabbled with it and experimented with it. So it's one of those things I think you've got to figure out what works for you.
Definitely.
And mine has just evolved over time, and it still sort of changes and evolves here and there. But one thing you mentioned before, I think is really important to sort of drive on home is just no processed shit, right? Like just let's eat stuff from the ground, from the trees. And if
Exactly.
you're a meat eater, then yes, eat raw protein or cooked raw protein. You know what I mean? Um,
100%.
so nothing out of the pack really is the simplest thing. And I'm a cook, so it's
Yeah.
easy for me to get some meat and get some vegetables and create a nice dish.
Yes. And
Um,
anything in its simplest form, you're always better off.
talk
Absolutely.
about, I mean, carbs. You eat a bit of sourdough bread, but not much if you eat 95% fruit and meat. What is it about carbs that you have, well, not an issue with, but that you don't agree with maybe, or
Yeah, I've found that especially complex carbohydrates, pastas, stuff like that. Um, they just really weigh you down and they give you like this lethargic feeling. So when I switched to more of a meat and fruit diet, I eat till I'm full, but I never get that feeling of like, oh man, I'm so
yeah,
tired, I need to take a nap. Where when I go, if I were to go and eat a bowl of pasta, then it's like, oh, I'm very tired here. So that's the main thing for me is my functioning. And the other thing too is your body tells you when you're full, essentially. Like I feel when I'm eating complex carbohydrates, I could just keep eating. If I have a huge thing of mashed potatoes and gravy, and then I have some pasta and a Pop Tart, it's like I can just keep eating. Where when I'm eating meat and fruit, my body's like, oh, you're full. I'm
you're
full.
satiated quicker. Yeah, okay,
Yeah.
it's interesting. And seed oils. Look, this one is something that I haven't really discussed too much in the past, and it seems to be now something that's getting talked about a lot, particularly in the athletic world or the fitness world. Talk to me about seed oils.
Yeah. So I stay away from all seed oils. I cook in beef tallow. That's really the only thing that I will ever use, and then a little coconut oil here and there.
Yeah,
But other than that, because the seed oils essentially are clogging you up, and it's really hard for your body to dispose of seed oils. So I really try to steer clear of those. Absolutely.
that's the reason for it, eh? Kind of makes sense. What about olive oil?
Olive oil, I'm okay with. The problem with olive oil is it has good properties when it's at room temperature, but then when you heat it up, it loses some of its good properties.
Okay. Whereas coconut oil and what did you say? Beef tallow.
Beef tallow, yeah, it's essentially rendered beef fat.
Okay, like a lard or
Yeah.
something.
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah. Okay, that's interesting. And it make like if you pour a lot of oil down the sink over time, it's going to clog the sink, right?
Right.
So your system's probably in a way the same.
Yeah.
Daily movement. You talk about daily movement. I think that's incredibly insightful. I just spoke to a mate of mine. We were just having a bit of chat about life and this and that, and his grandma was 98 or something, passed away.
Oh, wow.
But basically said, just keep moving. And I hear this often enough. And like you said, just movement of any type daily is a good thing, like walking. And there seems to be another trend now of going back to hey, just walk, just go for a half an hour walk every day.
Absolutely.
Um, but you talk about weightlifting and a couple of times a week, 3 times a week. How does that look to you? Because I've had another friend I just was speaking to about weightlifting, and he got very specific about doing just a few different weight routines, basically,
Hmm.
but a lot of them in a session, and maybe doing that once a week.
Yeah. Yeah, I think like you alluded to earlier, it's a little bit personal preference. I think
Yeah,
as long as you're getting it in is more important than the specifics.
right.
I think 3 days a week is the sweet spot. I think it doesn't have to be anything crazy. I think 30 minutes to an hour, go in, get some good resistance training for your whole body, and it's gonna allow you to retain muscle. And muscle is gonna be your biggest combatant to really any problems that you're gonna have in the disease world, all kinds of things like that.
So with your like, if I was to say, okay, well, where do I start with training? What's simple enough that you could say, hey, do this, this, and this, on a day and do this and on another, what would you subscribe or prescribe to someone that's getting
Yeah.
started?
What I would say is lifting weights is great, but even before I should have said a little more instead of lifting weights, resistance training.
Okay.
So for me personally, the base level is just calisthenics movements, push-ups, sit-ups, air squats, pull-ups, stuff like that. I mean, you see guys that will go to prison and they'll do thousands of calisthenics reps and they'll come out freaking jacked.
Yeah.
I think sometimes people make it harder than it needs to be.
Yeah,
You don't
that's
need
right.
to you don't need to get a fancy gym membership. It's like be able to control your own body first, and then if you want to look to put some serious muscle on, then move to the weightlifting.
So what would be the best gainers in the calisthenics for someone like myself or a beginner maybe even? I do squats and push-ups and things like that, but would you say squats, push-ups, chin-ups, what do you call it? Ab curls? You said there was another word for that. I'm just forgetting it right now. Sit-ups,
Yeah.
thank you. So there's 4. Is there anything else there that we put in there?
Yeah. I would say I think those are the big 4. I think squatting is number 1. Then I think push-ups are number 2. I think pull-ups and sit-ups, those are the main ones. Absolutely.
What about the ones like burpees and things like that?
Yeah,
Sort of cardio as well.
I don't mind those. I would never say don't do those. I think they're great things, but I think there's a lot of ways you could attack cardio movements, and I think for the average person you'd be better off doing something that you enjoy.
And would
And
you
I'm
say
not saying that you don't enjoy burpees, but you probably aren't going to like burpees as much as you would playing basketball or something like that.
the funnest things? So let's just say, you got those 4 things: push-ups, sit-ups, squats, chin-ups. Going to wherever my gym room or wherever a space is, because you can do it anywhere, which is great. Like when you're traveling, I really like this sort of routine. Would you say do push-ups until you can't do any more push-ups, and then go to the next one? Do sit-ups until you can't do sit-ups, and then just circle back, doing 3 reps on each?
I would say it kind of depends on your overall fitness level a little bit, but I would gear towards probably not doing it until failure. I would say especially if you know what your rep max is on those things, I would say do 50% of your rep max, go 2 or 3 sets through and do that 3 times a day until you see a big improvement. And then once you feel like you get to a point where you're doing so many of something, then you can start adding in weights.
Okay. I want to keep it super simple. So I'm just saying, 3 times a week, if we went in there and said, okay, I've got half an hour on a Monday, Wednesday, Friday in the morning,
Yep.
I'm going to do this calisthenics just for half an hour. How would you structure that?
Yeah, I'd say you got a half an hour. And again, it kind of depends on your base level, like how many you can do. But
well, let's say I can do 25 push-ups comfortably. So you'd suggest for me doing 12 push-ups or something.
Right. Yeah. I would say if you can do 25 comfortably, do 3 rounds of 12.
Yeah.
And then do the same thing with sit-ups, pull-ups, and
and chin-ups. That keeps it simple.
Yeah, chin-ups.
And would you just allow like a minute between each set?
Yeah, I'd say depending on time frame, but yeah, I'd give because the thing is, once you switch exercises, you're giving yourself rest in that other category.
Yeah, so just work on one and then work to the next one and then work to the next one rather than doing a circle. Right, okay, that makes sense. Cool. Like it, Sunlight Nature, we talked about that, and we talked a bit about sleep as well and sleep patterns, Going to sleep at 9, waking up at 6, that's a fairly healthy sleep pattern. And I truly believe that between 10 and 4 is when you should be resting. And, for most of us, you might just hit the pillow and knock yourself out straight away. A lot of people can't, and that's probably because they're too buzzed on the stimulant, the light, the TV, the phone in their face until bedtime. So really, having that pattern of switching off from that stuff and then having a little bit of time before bed will help you get into rest mode quicker as well.
Absolutely. Yeah, just going back to your circadian rhythm from thousands of years ago. I mean, especially when you're active and you eat the right way, when you're like, for me personally, when I close my eyes, it's lights out 20 seconds.
Yeah.
I'm going to sleep.
Generally, I'm a bit like that too, but I know a lot of people I speak to aren't. But maybe that's just that pre-bed routine that's down pat. Sleep, sunlight. Sunlight's a big one, huh? And we underappreciate the power of the sun on our body. Anything you want to tap into there?
I think nothing super specific, just as long as you can get between 30 minutes an hour of sunlight per day, bare minimum. And I think going for a walk's an easy one.
Yeah, for sure. Going to the beach. What a good excuse to go to the beach.
Absolutely. And then you get your grounding in there too. Take your feet off or take your shoes off.
Yeah. No, I love it all. I think it's well, thanks for sharing your mum's story too. And again, for those people listening out there, the book is available on Amazon. I'll stick a link in the show notes. So you can help the podcast by clicking that link in the at thehiddenwhy.com. It is Perseverance, Surviving the Life-Altering Dangers of Titanium Implants, a story of Boeden's mother and what she's gone through. Health and fitness. How can people find you, mate, online?
Yeah, my main contact would be on Instagram.
Yeah.
I have an account called Boeden Greenley.
Boeden Greenley, I like it. Good. Cool. Well, thanks so much for coming on.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Guys, you can check it out, as always, at thehiddenwhy.com. Go out there, live more fully, have more meaning, and find more joy. We'll talk to you soon.